Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, and welcome to episode 224 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Joining me today is Mike Ward, CEO of ThriftBooks, the world's largest seller of used books. We're going to be discussing the growth of secondhand products and how ThriftBooks is capitalizing on this opportunity. Thanks for joining me, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here, Joe.
So let's start by having you briefly tell our audience a little bit about ThriftBooks.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned in the intro, we're the largest retailer of used books in the world. That's a pretty cool title to be able to claim. There's a few others giving us a run for the money, but it's by and large kind of an invisible category to a lot of retailers. So we love playing in that space. I mean, the model, just to briefly walk your audience through it, is we buy books in bulk from charities like Goodwill and Salvation Army. They come in semi-trucks. We buy north of 100 semi-truck loads full of used books a week and bring them into our processing centers. Use a combination of technology and people to sort through those and find the items that are going to go online, and then we sell them on the usual places where you would expect you could sell things online: Amazon, eBay, etc. We're one of the top 5 sellers in terms of total units sold on Amazon, and then our big bragging point is, in addition to those really good sales channels on those third-party channels, we are selling more books than any of those channels on our own website on thriftbooks.com. So, a lot of your listeners are probably going to relate to the third-party world, selling on Amazon. Many probably also run their own websites, and so we're kind of right in there with all those folks. We do a mix of all of it, and have done a pretty good job.
So you answered my follow-up question in terms of how you're sourcing your books, your merchandise. What about your audience in terms of your customer base? I would imagine you sell all types of books, so your audience is pretty varied?
Yeah, and so the audience is driven for the most part based on the items that come in, and so we get a really, really broad range of titles. So you can imagine anything that somebody is donating to a Goodwill is going to potentially make it into one of our processing centers at some point. And so we have everything from textbooks to paperbacks, just stuff people are reading for fun, and everything in between. We have 13 million titles that we have listed today, and you can find everything in that mix.
So let's talk, and this doesn't have to be specific to ThriftBooks with this question, but certainly your experience is there. Can you talk about why you believe that the sale of used goods, we've seen kind of the revival of that, the Goodwill stores and ThredUp and some of the other players in this space, is a growing trend that we're seeing right now within the retail industry. What are your thoughts there, Mike?
Well, if you roll the tape back 10 years, you really weren't seeing anything like this. We formed, call it 15 years ago. We're very, very small for a while, really have scaled dramatically in the last 10 years. But the opportunity to get the used products was largely there and has been true for a long time. What's new today is the ability to use technology and online retail to reach a really, really vast audience. So I think the growth that you're seeing from companies like The RealReal and ThredUp and us and others in this space is really technology driven.
So then you mentioned that there's other players in the space. Let's talk specifically about books now. So what is ThriftBooks doing to differentiate itself from the competition? Obviously online, you have Amazon, offline Barnes & Noble, Amazon now has its own bookstores, independent booksellers. So there's a lot of competition in your space. Tell us kind of the value proposition, what your selling point is to consumers and why they would choose ThriftBooks.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big, it's a strong word, but I would say that readers, as we survey them, readers tend to feel like they may have been neglected for the last decade or so by the retail industry. In some cases, out of strategic decisions, and in other cases, just as the market's evolved, it's changed. Take for example the big player, Amazon. Originally they started as a bookstore, and then fairly quickly in their growth cycle, they have switched to become the everything store. And yes, they still sell plenty of books, but it's not a focus for them like it once was. A lot of the big brick and mortar stores that I grew up enjoying going into, like Barnes and Noble, have struggled greatly in the past decade or so. We'll see how the new ownership team at Barnes and Noble does. It sounds like they're going to be focusing on their brick and mortar stores as they move forward, but we see an opportunity. Readers have not really had that level of focus from a large online retailer in a long time, where we really are just focused on those readers. So that's one of the differentiators. And the other is kind of maybe not so obvious, which is we aren't a marketplace. We are selling, our own products. So in the used space, this is a little unusual. You could go to Amazon and buy a used book, but there's not a lot of visibility or transparency into which seller you're buying from. Might be from us, but it might be from any number of other sellers. So on our website, and our customers, when they buy from us, they know that they're getting a book that is graded by us, was handled by us, is fulfilled by us, is in our inventory, is not going to come from some mystery location. And that level of trust has gotten customers to come back over and over and over again. We have asked our customers the age-old Net Promoter Score question: would you recommend us to a friend? And our customers we have an off-the-chart NPS score. We're somewhere in the 72 to 76 range right now. So just a lot of trust from customers. And does that answer your question?
That does. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of how technology is, the introduction of e-readers and some of the other, people just, reading online more, how that's influenced your business and how you guys have evolved as that, as these trends have taken place. You want to talk a little bit about that, kind of the evolution of the business?
Yeah, I have things that keep me up at night, and I'll tell you that e-readers, digital books, are not one of the things that keep me up at night. It was 5-6 years ago. As the technology was brand new, we were hearing a lot about it, and the prognosticators were saying that half of the books were going to be digital by, something like 2015 or 2016, and that just has not come true. It's very much leveled off. It looks like digital books today are somewhere around a quarter of all books being sold, and it's been very, very flat for the last 3-4 years. It doesn't look like it's growing. So when we survey our customers, we get a similar response. There are people that will read a digital book when it's convenient. I'm the CEO of a used book company. I read books digitally from time to time. They're very convenient when you're on an airplane. But most people, myself included, and our customers tell us the same thing, would prefer to read it on paper if they had a choice. So there's just some advantages, and it's a different experience to read a book physically, hold it in your hands, than it is to read it digitally. The other advantage is, because of the value proposition that we offer, customers are able to order more books in total, to purchase more books in total in any given year than they had previously, because of how much savings they're getting. So when we survey our customers and ask them, are you reading more this year than you did last year? Our new customers all say yes, they're reading more. So good for them and good for us.
So when you look at it in terms of, you've mentioned a couple times the trust that you've developed with your customers, and that would seem to be, to me, that you're building these relationships with them. This isn't just a one-time purchase. Most of your customers are coming back to ThriftBooks and shopping again. If you were going to pinpoint, what do you attribute that to in terms of, your loyalty that you've gotten from your customers and, overall success, what would those points be?
Well, I mean, I know every CEO says this, but I think our people in our company are our biggest asset, and a derivative of that is the technology that we've developed, that those people in the company have developed. So, as I mentioned earlier, the technology has allowed companies like us to grow and to scale. And so our understanding of the technology, I think, is what makes us successful. So it allows us to properly grade the books as they come through the system. If we have automation in our facilities where we're processing the books, we have very good predictive algorithms that are telling us, off of the truckload of stuff that we get, which are the items that we think we can sell and which are the items that we cannot. So those kinds of intelligence layers really, really allow us to grow and to make the customer happy at the end of the day. I don't like buzzwords like I think machine learning and AI, these can be a little buzzy at times. And certainly we use these technologies, but fundamentally it's really just using big sets of data to figure out what customers want and present that to them at a value proposition that makes sense. So everything from merchandising, finding the right item, marketing effectively, purchasing AdWords effectively, and then in the back end of the system where we're processing all of these books, which is sort of akin to a manufacturing environment, we're doing that effectively as well, using, again, data, technology, and automation. So all of these things are what are going to allow us to grow into the future and give us a competitive advantage over others that maybe are trying to do this by hand or in a garage or at a small scale.
Mm-hmm. And you look at, as you mentioned, kind of looking, where you're taking this going forward. So as CEO, where are you focusing your attention as you look to profitably grow ThriftBooks? Is it, further investments in the technology? Is it, maybe hiring, is it, new product categories? What do you look at in terms of, okay, this could be an opportunity for ThriftBooks to take that next step?
Well, we continue to see a lot of growth opportunity on the used book front. So our focus is there. And like I mentioned previously, the technology is going to be the key for us to be able to do that. And we absolutely, as we look forward, we need to be able to stay nimble because there's a lot of uncertainty over the horizon. I mean, the online space in general, not talking about books or used books or anything, but just online retail in general, is very, very hard to look over the horizon more than a couple of years, primarily because we're all kind of waiting to see what Amazon will do next. And the rate of change that they're introducing is pretty high. So we need to be nimble. We need to be able to react to those to stay in front of our competition. So we need to continue to focus on how well we sell on Amazon, watch that marketplace very, very closely. We think we are very, very good at that. And then our biggest focus in terms of channels will continue to be our website. So it's an interesting challenge. How do you, how do I challenge my folks to say, guys, I want you to be the best at selling on Amazon and eBay and third-party markets as anybody else out there, and I want you to be the best at selling on our own website to our own customers directly at the same time. And so we managed to have done that so far, and we've grown our website greatly. I mean, I'll brag a little. Our website is our biggest channel. We're selling more books there than any of the other channels put together. But we need to maintain that and continue to grow that. So as I look forward, that is going to be one of our biggest keys.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talk to, a lot. I think a lot of companies struggle with that. That, when you talk about Amazon, like, I'm curious at ThriftBooks, what's the determination? Okay, it makes sense for us to sell our product on Amazon versus, what? We looked at Amazon more as the competitor, and I think we should sell all of our products on our own website. Can you talk about kind of the balance you're doing there, and why you just made the decision to sell on Amazon versus selling all of your product direct to consumer from the ThriftBooks site?
Sure. I mean, it kind of started the other way around. So our company and companies like ours began on the backs of Amazon primarily. Amazon opened up their API to the public 15 years ago, 12 years ago, and that was the genesis of companies like ours. So originally, we were 100% selling on Amazon. And then as other third-party markets jumped into the marketplace world as well, then we were listing on those and selling on those as well. So today, it becomes a very algorithmic and scientific approach to how and when we sell a book and on which channel we're going to sell it. So, the primary driver is the commission rates that you're paying on those various sites. So we're looking very, very closely at those. And so in some cases on Amazon, for example, the commission structure is such that we just simply cannot sell some of our inventory there that is at the lowest price points. The commission rate is so high that we have opted to just simply not even sell that item on that channel. So it becomes very algorithmic and very, very scientific, focused on how we decide to allocate our inventory across those channels. And then the customers will go, as we begin to get good at marketing and understanding our customers and using our email list to market to our customers, then we're able to continue to grow our vertical channel in that way.
Yep. So then my last question, Mike, is in terms of the secondhand retail market, and you've mentioned and where it's at now. I'm interested to see what do you think is going to impact that sector of the industry going forward?
Well, I think it will continue to grow. I look at our customers today; their appetite for our product continues to grow. We know that we're a fraction of the sales on Amazon. And like I mentioned, that's not our biggest channel, but it's a really good indicator of the size of the overall market. So there's a lot of room for growth there. We survey our customers and a set of blind customers that don't know who we are. It's a blind survey. And we ask them, what percentage of your books are you buying new and what percentage of your books are you buying used? And our customers will tell us they spend 2/3 of their wallet on used, and customers that aren't aware of our site tell us they spend 1/3 of their wallet on used. And so we know that once they discover us and the value proposition, that they're going to spend more and become more comfortable buying used. And we just think that generally the trend in used as well is becoming very popular. We love being able to talk about all of the books that we've saved from putting in landfills. Literally hundreds of millions of pounds of books that otherwise would have been thrown away and put into landfills, and we're finding new homes for those, and that feels really good to us, and it feels really good to our customers as well.
Yeah, I would imagine you're marketing that fact, especially the younger consumers that are choosing to shop and do business with brands that kind of align with values. That sustainability message that you just talked about, is that kind of a selling point too that you wanted to get out there?
It is, and we don't want to lean too much on that. We primarily are trying to make a really good value proposition for our customers, and we think that if we lean too much on that, it maybe comes off a little braggy. So we try to be careful with how we state those facts. But it certainly is a motivator for us, and was when we started the company, and it is for our customers today. And we recognize that our customers are pretty smart people. When we look at the demographic of people that are using us, they are highly educated and have relatively high incomes. So you might say, oh, that's not what I would expect from a consumer of a used product. But the reasons that they're choosing us is not because they're low on cash. It's because it's a very smart decision, and smart people love to be able to find good deals in the marketplace, and we're one of those.
Yeah, very interesting. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Mike Ward of ThriftBooks for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, but make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Also, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.